Hello, everybody, and welcome to Watch from Home Theater. I'm Clint Gage, and tonight we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of a real cult classic, looking back on a quarter century of messing with the best and dying like the rest. We're watching Hackers, and we've got a very special guest here to watch with us. But before we do that, we will be featuring a few clips throughout the film during the show tonight, but not the whole movie. This is very much a watch-along kind of deal, so get your copies of Hackers queued up to the very beginning, right before the MGM lion roars. If you don't have a copy, it's streaming on HBO Max if you're signed up over there. But if you're not, there's a link in the description here to go get yourself signed up for a free trial. So while you guys get yourselves all squared away there, also with me tonight is IGN's Max Scoville. Max, how you doing, man?
Doing okay. Doing all right. Get to watch Hackers. This is always fun.
You're giddy about Hackers.
I love Hackers.
Well, also joining us tonight in our shared love of Hackers is AKA serial killer from the film. It's Matthew Lillard. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey!
Hey!
Am I supposed to love it as much as everyone else, or where's my point of view here? Am I supposed to love it or tear it down?
You should love it as much as you feel like loving it. I think that's the answer for everybody. How much do you want to love it? I guess my first question would be, when was the last time you watched the movie?
I watched the movie, I think the 20th anniversary. They did a screening of it. I I took my kids who were young at the time, and one of them's 16 now, so she would have been 11, and my middle child who would have been 9, and we went to a little art house in Los Angeles, and we went with friends of ours. We watched like a midnight showing of it, and so that was the last time I saw it with a live audience. So it was super fun. And my kids were not impressed. That's the one thing. The one thing I remember about that screening is that my kids were like, "I don't get the rollerblades. I just don't understand how that worked."
It is the 90s-est movies that ever 90s. I can't even say that right, but you know what I mean.
It's supersonic 90s. It is definitely, it's uber 90. Yeah.
So Matthew, you last watched Hackers for the 20th anniversary. When's the last time you rollerbladed?
When they called rap at the end of this movie, it may be the last time. Look, the truth of the matter is the physics of it as a 6'4" man on rollerblades, if you fall, it's a tragic descent into asphalt, right? There's nothing good about that fall. So I don't think and we rode them so much. No, we wheeled them so much. What do? We skated so much that by the time we finished, I think it was pretty done with the sport of rollerblading.
Nice.
I may have whipped them around.
I will say probably the best way to rollerblade has to be on a shut down street in Manhattan, though. Once you get that taste of rollerblading, that's got to be none of the rest matters.
Yeah, I think we did it in Central in the train station.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Right, so I think. Yeah. I don't ruin anything. No spoilers.
No spoilers for Hackers here on the 25th anniversary. You'll have to point out at what point in the movie you're actually rollerblading as we get to them. So, but before we do get to the movie, Matthew, I want to give you a chance to talk about. Tell us about 5 Acres. There's a donate button down below here on YouTube that will send you guys to 5 Acres.
Yeah, so 5 Acres is an organization that is near and dear to my wife's and my heart, our family's heart, up here in Pasadena. I live in Pasadena, California, and it's for kids that have nowhere else to go. It's for kids that are sort of on their third strike in foster care programs, if they've either coming from abused backgrounds or just really tragic stories, and they've got nowhere else to go. They end up at 5 Acres. And 4 years ago, I started a program called 5 Jamma Slamma. And so what we do is we go into the youth home, which is on 5 Acres, and teach kids living in foster care the power of slam poetry, the power of expression. And we bring in a bunch of professionals from music and film and television, the poetry world, the dance world, and we do basically a poetry boot camp over the course of 3 weeks. We used to do it in 1 week, and then we did 3 weeks. And then we do a one-night only performance with the kids where they get up and they spit their truths. And it's been a really sort of amazing experience for me, for my family, for the community, for these kids. So we're happy tonight to sponsor 5 Acres and the work they're doing with the souls of these beautiful kids. It's an amazing place.
That's great. That's incredible. Yeah. So there's a donate button down here on the YouTube link as well, and you can go to 5acres.org to find out more about them. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. So so here is your last chance at home. If you're watching, make sure you're all queued up. Get your thumbs or your cursors or whatever you're doing over there, hovering over that play button. And also, don't forget to leave questions for Matthew in the chat wherever you're watching us tonight, and we will try to get to them during the show. If you're following along on Twitter, use the hashtags WFHTheater and hashtag Hackers25. And that is officially all the business, I think. So let's watch this movie.
Go get a cocktail before we start. Go get something to drink.
Go get a cocktail before the opening credits are done. But here we go. Let's
go. This is not going to be fun unless you have something to sip on.
All right. Well, we got something here. So here we go. Let's count it down. Click and play in 3, 2, 1, play.
I'm not in this part. 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 How much do we talk? Do we have to talk the whole time or barely at all?
Look, as much as it's relevant. I think let's talk plenty, I think. But if this is your first time watching Hackers, maybe just bookmark this and come back to it later because we will be talking over most of it. I was the Lion Roar, the MGM Lion Roar. Where does that rank on studio logos for you guys? Pretty high up there?
Well, yeah, it's got to be like top 2 or 3, right? I mean, what else?
I think so, yeah.
What else is there? Look how scared it is. By the way, directed by Ian Softly, who is one of the most talented directors ever. He did Backbeat. No, not Backbeat. That's not right. He did.
No, it was Backbeat, right? That was the one about the fifth Beatle, right?
The Beetle.
Wings of the Dove was the Helena Bonham Carter bunch of. They were like Academy Awards for that one. So yeah.
Yeah, and he did the space movie with what's his name? Who shall not be named.
K-Pax.
K-Pax.
Yeah. So he did a huge slew of movies that sort of all sorts of genres. He's amazing. And then this, which I will is way beyond its time. Jonathan Lipnicki, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Lipnicki.
Oh, whoa,
and
yeah.
Pan across to just the top of his hair.
So, Matthew, how old were you when you were in Hackers? And like, how did this come into your life? When did you become a hacker?
97? Is that when it came out?
95.
95. So yeah, so I was 24. It's a funny story actually. So I was dating at the time a woman that worked at the casting office for the people that cast this movie, and they needed somebody to come in and read with actors who were auditioning for the film. And so I came in and read as Johnny Lee Miller's character for 4 days. All the lead actresses that came into audition in New York came in and I read with them. And if you give me 3 days in a room or 4 days in a room with somebody, if I'm nothing else, I'm charming. I may not have a lick of talent in my body, but I could charm somebody after 4 days. So I was charming enough that Ian Softly is like, hey, I want you to fly out to California and screen test as the lead. So I screen test as Johnny's character. Shockingly, I didn't get it. I know it's weird for everyone, but I did not get the part. And then they backstopped me with Serial Killer, which I was happy to have. So yeah, so that's how I came into it. And then, I was, like you're a New York actor, and I was a young New York actor, and I just come off of Serial Mom and Mad Love, two gems of. Actually, Serial Mom's a great movie. That's a movie you guys should do. Serial Mom's awesome. Kathleen Turner.
We'll have you back into Serial Mom.
Oh, I just watched that a few months ago. Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. It's great. But then, and I did Mad Love. I went out to Seattle and did Mad Love with Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell, and then came back and did this. And sort of, this, and this is before Scream and sort of before anything else in my movie. I mean, in my movie career. But this, I don't know. It's I make fun of it about how people love this movie. Like if you go to a convention in Seattle and you're signing autographs or something, like people in Seattle, any tech-centered community goes crazy for this film. And this is a movie that came out that didn't necessarily do well when it hit the movie theaters. I actually don't remember how it did on the day, but 10 years later, it had this huge resurgence. And computers weren't a thing when a movie came out. It's barely sort of tapping into the power of the internet when the movie hit.
What was your frame of reference for the internet when you were in this movie? Like, had you gone on the internet? Like, what was the like?
No. So when we did the movie, they gave us all laptops because none of us had computers. The computers were something that you weren't as readily. I mean, I'm watching this right now on my computer, right? That just didn't happen. And it was before both of you were born, but before AOL dial-up. So you would dial up, and they gave us online accounts for this thing called New York Online. And all it was were a series of chat rooms. So you would dial up, and all of a sudden you're in, and you're like chatting with people in these chat rooms of New York City. And then at the end of it, we had to give the computers back. So yeah, it was this crazy.
That would be an incredible thing to still have, the loaner laptop they gave you for hackers.
I would have sold it years ago, bro.
Yeah.
That would have been 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like in like 98, I'd been like, anyone want a computer?
Were they like
still works kind of?
Did they let you like customize them? Were they like spray painted camo and like pot leaf stickers on them, or were they just like regular laptops to kind of tool around with behind the scenes?
They were like 24-pound laptops. Like, you had its own backpack, and you had to cinch it up, and it wouldn't hurt your back. Yeah. But it's
the most difficult part about rollerblading. Lugging a laptop.
You fall on that laptop here. But like after every take, like somebody would come and like gather the laptops. I mean, they were like a big deal. Like, they were a big deal. But this is all like one of the crazy things about the movie is the success of the soundtrack, which they're just now releasing again on vinyl. They're doing a huge remaster for the 20th anniversary. 25th anniversary, and they're doing like a big vinyl remix that's dropping. I literally got a text today from Ian Softly, who was like, "Hey, you should tell people this is out there, because this soundtrack was as big as the movie, if not bigger. I mean, it was sort of like cutting edge and way before its time."
Yeah, there was the whole like British electronica scene was kind of just blowing up stateside.
Yeah. And Ian, so we shot. So funny. So half of this movie was shot in New York, and half of it was shot in London.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
So all of this stuff was on the sound stages in London. It's kind of crazy.
I just love watching this sort of representation of hackers, of like hacking a TV station, and just these robots fighting over the tapes. And relatively slow typing from Johnny Lee Miller, too, which is.
Well, he was probably actually really typing the code. Trying to back it up, memorize the code, make sure it was correct, and then type the right thing.
This is how people used to stream movies. You had to like hack into the TV station and be like, yeah, I want to watch Ray Harryhausen movies.
Well, what's funny is that, so as a point of reference, like this movie, but when it came out, you were still trying to at that point make movies that if you put them in 10 years later, they would be relevant. So basically, what happened is that people were making movies because they wanted to be relevant for as long as possible. And one of the things that Ian did was like he sort of threw that conceit out and went into making a super relevant modern movie. Because remember, before this time, or just at the cusp of this time, like you'd be making a movie to play once or twice on the TV, like 3 years later. I mean, this is obviously DVDs. Actually, I don't know if DVDs were around. Were DVDs around in '95?
No, it was. I think it was a little later in the '90s. Yeah, before they became like really, just that's all you could find. But
this idea that the directors really wanted to make their movies timeless.
That is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because that's one of the first things we talked about was how quintessentially '90s this movie is. Like this movie is so of its time and place. Maybe it took a little distance to actually feel sort of nostalgic for it before it became the actual cult classic that it is.
Well, there were so many movies that came out this year that were like about like tech and computers. Like there was the net, there was Johnny Mnemonic, Disclosure, like Virtuosity. There's all these different sort of like kind of meta cyberpunk movies, and I feel like this one kind of ages better than a lot of them. Like I rewatched The Net, and that is just like it's like laughable because it feels like an after school special about not talking to strangers on the computer. Whereas
exactly,
this is
yeah.
like
There's
friends.
so much in this movie that is actually still relevant today. Like I think like thematically, there's a lot going on in this movie that still works. Like it's a younger generation versus older generation kind of story, and it's even set up right from the very start. Like watching Dade, call that guy and pretend to be what was he like? I'm Captain Eddie Vedder, and just like pulling the wool over this older dude's, and that's how the younger generation is getting by. And there's so much of that in this movie that still feels true, Whereas The Net was basically like this cautionary tale about how the internet is going to turn you into a loner, and you will be, the president or vice president or whatever. We're going to trick him into. I don't know. That movie was bizarre, but it was a big scary movie too. It was like you're supposed to be afraid of the internet after the.
It also it normalized so much about like what you could do on the computer with stuff that wasn't there yet. Like she orders a pizza online and she goes and books plane tickets online. And I watched that with my wife, and she didn't get that was like high tech futuristic stuff back when the movie came out. Right. Like it was it was like that was just normal now. It's like.
But there's something. I mean, look, there's something about this movie too. Is that Ian has a vision, right? I mean, The Net's sort of right down the middle, made for all four boxes, and trying to make as much money as possible. And so is Ian Softly. Obviously, he's not trying to make a movie that's not box office successful. But he's got a point of view. He's building characters. His wardrobe's off the hook. His music's a bold, brave choice. The way they shot it, I mean, the stark light. I think our DP is the same DP from Pulp Fiction. Am I crazy?
We can look that up.
Does anyone have an internet?
Let me just hack into the Internet Movie Database real quick, and I'll see if.
Okay. I think it's Andre, and look, the light is so stark, right? It's high contrast, super high contrast.
I also like the way that they use those cutaways to the stock footage and like the staticky TV thing, and how he's, it's sort of a stand-in for what it looks like, what hacking looks like and how that's represented on film, but it's also like his imagination and his headspace, and it's done in a way that's not at all sort of condescending or talking down to the fact that it's like a pop culture based kind of.
And it was new. I think you've seen that now, but I don't think that was around before. Who shot it?
Andre Sekula.
It is Andre.
Who did
so I think Andre.
Who did Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can feel that sort of high, super high key, high contrast. You can feel that in the film.
Oh yeah.
And there she is. I mean, the reason the movie ends up winning at the end of the day. I mean, he's beautiful. So Johnny Miller is incredibly talented. He had just come off of played Sick Boy in what is it in
Trainspotting.
Trainspotting, and comes right into this and was incredible. I mean, he's beautiful. He's a really talented actor. He's a great number one on the call sheet. I mean, the kid at the time was fantastic. And then Angie. I mean, Angie had done like one movie before. I auditioned with her because I was reading in New York, and it was like, whoa. I mean, she is a different human being. She is a freak. I mean, she was like, changed the game. And randomly, I mean, you had this whole great New York cast, very diverse. Jesse, also, I mean, such a stud kid. Again, I go back to why is it now, years later, 25 years later, that we're talking about this movie? Nobody has done a 27-year anniversary for Mad Love, right? I mean, that's just never going to happen. And the reason this movie wins or gets to this place, I think, is because Ian put together a really sort of lovely, it's a lovely movie. And that's New York. That's beautiful. The introduction
Yeah, I mean-
of serial killer. Shh, quiet, you guys, quiet.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get this clip up on screen here.
I can't hear it, Nick.
Compilation tape, my own name. I call this the greatest Zooks album, featuring artists like, well, I got some Hendrix on there, some Joplin, Mama Cass, Belushi, all great artists that are fixated on their own vomit. You can't get this in stores, man.
So bad. It's so bad. Off. Turn it off. I don't want
Okay, that's it. We're done.
Matthew, can we talk about those sunglasses?
Put on the net. Let's talk about the sunglasses. I have very wide set eyes. Look at my eyes. They're very wide set. Those glasses did not help Matt Lillard at all. Terrible.
I will say this place here is ranking. It ranks right up there with the original Ninja Turtles live action movie in terms of places I wanted to hang out as a teenager.
Sure.
Just nothing but video games and.
Well, at the time, too, this idea that you would have a one-story video wall with a video game on it was like, what? That's insane. You know,
and just the glimpses we get at this game, I really want to figure out how the entire thing plays.
What is this? Is just Wipeout. Oh, and that's got they got like PlayStation branding in the background. That's like before that was. I think that was the year that even launched. Some weird.
Oh, and this
placement.
kid, that kid's somebody's famous son. James Taylor's son, maybe?
Oh, wow.
I remember looking at that kid on set and being like, oh my God, that kid's gorgeous. His name is...
He's just there looking slick all day.
About like a wide set-eyed dude and a bunch of beautiful people. I mean, that's the truth.
Nick RTD did just confirm it is Wipeout on the OG PlayStation that he's playing here. But on screens the size of an entire wall.
Yeah. Jesse Bradford. Jesse Bradford's so talented. So is Renly. And then she goes and gets on this motorcycle, and I just remember thinking to myself, she should have the helmet on.
I literally wrote that same note down when I was rewatching it. So like, because she also makes, we'll see it here in a second, but she also makes such a show out of not wearing the helmet.
I know, but it's like...
It's not just that she's casually not wearing it. She's cavalierly not wearing this helmet.
I mean, she's so beautiful. We're all watching. Am I even in this movie? Why am I here? Am I not in this movie? Where's
Not
the
at the
tall
moment.
guy?
I think you're hanging out with
Where'd
Lord
the
Nikon or
sunglasses go?
something.
Lord Nikon. Oh, see, look. Now she's like there. And it's just
There
like,
you go.
I'm the beautiful woman in cinema. It's my first film.
Check me out not wearing this helmet.
Come on. That's ridiculous. God only
That
gives
is unsafe.
He gets them all. By the way, let me say right now, she's lovely. She's funny. She's charismatic. She's a very talented director. And she's winning in life.
I do love here seeing these like older, graphic interfaces on these old computers. Is so much fun.
It was all MLS Top or whatever.
Yeah.
MLS.
But I think too that's like with how quickly computers have developed since 1995, and even just in the 5 years after. Like you don't have to fast forward to now, but like there's something so fun about looking back at early technology that we're all now familiar with, like right at that moment where we weren't quite familiar with it yet.
Right. Which I think may speak to some of the reasons why it didn't do so hot when it came out. Right? Before its time. Like nobody could really relate to it. And now, Matthew, shh, quiet! Everyone
So they
quiet.
wouldn't hump women's legs at cocktail parties. Ruth Levy.
I'm not so sure your mother qualifies as a significant author of the 20th century.
I do really like this teacher. It's a really perfect sort of archetypal. I'm exhausted, but also I still understand the kids kind of teacher, like wearing cargo pants,
Yeah, where is he?
cargo shorts. Excuse me.
Advanced.
Nice, very nice.
Oh, see,
He's not in
This
this
also
class.
seems to be a contest to see who can like pull the coolest quote.
He's not enrolled
I think.
in his class.
for sure.
Well, he's
These
on
kids
my list.
like really care about poetry. It's great.
They're so enlightened.
Of all the things
One
I've
thing I
lost,
miss
my
my
mind
mind
the most.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Manuel Goldstein, sir?
You, however, are not on my list.
Isn't that woodshop?
Whoa, this isn't woodshop class?
What did you do?
Class crashing, come on.
Just a wonderful victimless prank.
What is he doing? Serial killers are great. And what is that shirt? What is he? He's like one sleeve and then pants.
I was going to ask you. We do have a comment here, a question from Beatmaster, who's watching on Cinefix. Once, does Matthew know where they took the inspiration for the characters' clothes?
I don't, but there's a whole bunch of people out there that I did an interview with a guy that they all go out and they reproduce the clothes. I mean, there's cosplay, which was really deep. Hackers, I forget what the guys. I should probably find them, give them a shout out because they're incredible. And I did an
I'm gonna be
interview with
honest,
them, and
I've definitely looked for Dave Murphy's jacket on more than one occasion. That's a dope jacket.
have you really? Oh, that's funny. This
The
one?
one, like
no,
the
no.
biker no. That's like his fishing vest. I don't want that. But the biker jacket that's got like the gray pauldrons, like it's a.
By the way, I did pull this out of my desk. You see, it says Grand Turismo X.
Oh!
Very cool.
Look at the size of that thing. It's like a Walkman. I love it.
I'm just gonna put it right here. No big deal.
Just leave it right
Yeah,
there.
no, there's no names, man. I went through a period in my life where every single word that came out of my mouth had to have all the energy I had in my spirit in it. No names, man. No names.
Just maximum effort at everything.
Now, that was the thing.
Green one. What is that? What is that? What is it? Let me see.
Been, my whole thing was
Luscious orange.
be exciting as many times as you can. Don't know if it was a good choice. And the only,
It worked out pretty good.
Well, it's worked out so far. I can't complain. But,
Yeah.
the good I was then is it's so funny that people look at a career and they judge hackers as much as they judge the work you're doing today. And it's funny. I mean, I'm 50.
I'm looking around.
I was 24 when it was moved. It's a different world.
Right.
Funny to watch.
Okay, like 4 hours
You know?
just messing around in there. Finally, figure out that it's a bank. Right? Okay, wait. Okay, so it's a bank.
I had this thought as a character
Look in the paper. Some cash machine in
that he never had a place to stay. Like, I had this whole backstory that too, which informs like every decision I make in the movie. But then they cut that whole the one line that sort of established that they cut. So he's like eating everything he can in the scene because he doesn't know he's going to eat it.
Stupid, man. It's university.
So all of that was your homework? No, that wasn't a script thing?
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing was like, if you come to work with everything, then they can take what they want and what they need, right? And so as an actor, I always bring a million choices.
Want to be elite?
And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But
None of this accidental shit.
some of it informs you, some of it's completely stupid. But
Computers they use to like do physics and look for oil and stuff.
I do always love hearing about the backstory and the work and everything that goes in that isn't ever addressed, like explicitly on camera. And so, but even if it just, if there's a tweak to the energy, or if there's something about a scene that's flavored by whatever it is you've come up with, like that's always interesting to hear.
clearly nobody wrote in the script he fondles his left nipple. So, I mean, sometimes you make a decision as an actor that's never good and should have been cut on the day. I will say that my career suffered from people laughing at me and keeping it in the movie, but probably shouldn't have, because just because you thought it was funny doesn't mean it was actually funny.
Right.
Right? I mean, it is
You
funny.
need somebody. You needed Ian to say, actually, can we do one more without the nipple thing, and then your career would have had a completely different trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, you could have cut. I'm sure they could have cut around it, and I'm sure they're like, it's funny and weird, just keep it. But, I still have to live with the fact that that's me rubbing my left nipple in front of the wall. Nobody needs that. In fact, I feel bad for your viewers, guys. There's got to be something else on right now that you can watch that isn't this.
It's this amazing visual representation of the inside of a computer that we just watched, which is part practical camera moving through this like cool tunnel, like actual tactical kind of real tunnel, and part visual effects, and like it was a really cool kind of transition into that weird looking cyberspace.
That was all practical. The camera moves, they move, and then there's Penn.
And then there's Penn.
That dude has such a weird career.
Well,
I mean, like he was like super.
Oh. We'll go back to what I was talking about. He's
go for it, man.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
I'm gonna skip over that. That whole sequence was like those elements were built in London, and you could walk through that thing because it was all a practical effect. There he is. He's back.
I do love the space that they're in, that the cyber security wing of this giant company being just nothing but glass and LEDs and like low lit, and it's such a villain's lair.
What is Jesse Bradford doing now? You look very relevant. What's he doing?
I am not sure. I can't remember what the last thing I saw him in was.
I love him as an actor. He's a lovely actor. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, those are floppy disks.
Yes.
That's what you use to record all your stuff on, is a floppy disk.
And the fact that wasn't a 5-inch floppy disk, I think, is cutting edge for 1995.
That's 1.44 megabytes. That's a lot of data.
Might even be 288, man.
44 megabytes? That's hilarious. And Fisher Stevens at the time was an icon in New York. He's been around. Fish was like, it was like a privilege to work with him. Look at that. See, all that's so cool.
Yeah.
Because you're like, the idea for Ian is like, how do I bring this to life? Like, what are you going to cut to? And they didn't have computer graphics like you do now. I mean, now you just get lost in the Matrix.
But I mean, even the Matrix, they had to be like, here's a street full of people walking around. Like, they had to have some kind of relatable representation. I feel like this does such a good job of being like, it's a city full of information. Like, it's not just a bunch of, root folders. It's like, it's compelling to look at.
Right? I mean, they started it early in that pan over New York that becomes the motherboard. He established the motif early.
And you have all these scenes like the one we saw a second ago with the nipple, where hacking comes down to guys sitting around like sharing, code books and instruction manuals and stuff like that. Like that's, that, and then actually like, calling people and tricking them into giving you information and things like. There's so many different parts of actual hacking in this movie, on top of the cityscape that turns into a motherboard kind of imagery. So it's all real cool, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Nikon, so funny. So we shot all this in London, right? So you're a bunch of kids from New York going to London to make a movie, and going out to like Shepperton every day in a car. I mean, it's an hour drive out. Like shooting for 2.5 months in London was incredible.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
not
great.
that long, maybe 6 weeks, but.
And a movie about kids saving the planet too, which is.
Yeah. By the way, this is where he says, "Can I crash your place tonight?" So that was like the whole facing.
Wendell Pierce, just another guy that's is just great in everything.
He's unbelievable. By the way, he doesn't look a day older.
I love that they're just having a slumber party. Like they're staying up late and watching their favorite show and having snacks.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So Emmanuel Goldstein. So I play Emmanuel Goldstein, and he was a hacker that got busted. Oh, that's funny. So that doll. So I had this doll called Spanx, which it's a stupid story, but I was between my first and second year in acting school, I went to a Renaissance fair in New York called the Sterling Renaissance Fair. Still the best job I've ever had. Yes, I was an actor in Scream, but I would take the Renaissance Fair just about any day over any movie because it was that much fun. And that doll, I was like, I love bringing stuff in my life into my work. And so I ran around with this doll the entire time on the movie. Anyways, but Emmanuel Gold, stupidest story I've ever told. And I just told it on the World Wide Web. I apologize to everyone watching at home. But I forgot that I had the doll. The doll was but I play Emmanuel Goldstein, and Emmanuel Goldstein is this hacker that got busted and was a really famous hacker at the time. And he like came by set and like talked us through about what it's like to hack. And we're like asking him questions like, all right, dude, so what is it like to bust into like how do you ask about hacking? Like, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, you drink a lot of soda pop and you really try to crack the codes, and sometimes you go dumpster diving, and it's crazy. But meeting him, I was like, no, he's like on the he like served time for hacking when he was like 17 years old. And then Mark Anthony, one of the world's biggest Latino stars in the world's biggest Latino stars in the world. But he was like, at some point we were like hanging out. He's like, yeah, I'm a singer. Do you guys want to come see me at this concert? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, where are you playing? He's like, yeah, Roseland. I'm like, what are you talking about, Roseland? He's like, yeah, I'm a singer. I'm a huge star in Latin America. I'm like, well, you're great, whatever. Cut to, we go by Roseland, and it's like packed with people. I mean, it was like, one of the biggest stars in the entire world. Hilarious. And
I was going to ask. I was going to ask at what stage in his career was 1995. I'm not familiar with him, but he was.
Shit, I don't know his career. I mean, I'm not really that familiar with his career either. But years later, I was at a CAA party. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Come on!" And it was like, "Hey, do you know J-Lo?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't know." Everywhere. He's like, "Well, come on." So we go and meet her, and all of a sudden I'm in Mark Anthony and J-Lo's like private little booth at like one of the biggest Hollywood parties around. I'm like with my wife. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is so strange. And the weirdest thing, it's a stupid story, but somebody was getting thrown out. A security guard was trying to throw out one of the heads of CAA out of this section of the most powerful people in Hollywood, right? And the security guard's like, dude, you have to leave. And I know that the guy he's trying to throw out is like one of the heads of it's a Christmas party. It's CAA. CAA is the biggest agency at the time in the world, probably still is. And he was throwing out the guy throwing the party. And I got up in the middle of it. My wife's like, do not get involved. I'm like, no, the guy's going to get in trouble. He's making a mistake. So I get in the middle of the biggest guy in Hollywood, like the biggest agency in the business, and this guy trying to throw him out. I'm like, dude, you cannot throw him out. So I'm trying to mediate. Another stupid story of me telling you stupid stories. But basically, I was like, do not throw out the guy who's throwing the party in J-Lo section. And then Mark Anthony and J-Lo were involved, and I'm in the middle, and I'm like, I should not be here. And it's like really famous people and then pretend famous Matt Lillard. It's very awkward.
So did they throw him out or what?
No, he came to his senses. He was told by enough A-list celebrities that they should not throw out Kevin Uve.
Oh God.
It was J-Lo that finally got through to him.
Yeah, I was like, you're in the VIP section of his party. So he's above the VIP section. Like he wrote the check for the party.
Well, if you're just joining us here, we're watching Hackers with Matthew Lillard. There's it's on HBO Max. You can get yourself signed up for a free trial over there if you don't have it already. There's a little timer in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. We're about 36 minutes into this, and here's another scene where the real world kind of has that machine sort of motherboard look, like the way that they filmed these escalators kind of has that same vibe of what the insides of the computers have been looking like, which is cool. And then I love Lorraine Bracco's character here as just being the person that doesn't know anything about computers, which is like such a necessary character here, because that's like, I mean, what most people in 1995 just didn't have a clue.
That's who you see the exposition to.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to have that character so smart people can explain smart things. Yeah.
Didn't they just go down the escalator? What are they doing? Go back up there?
She's had enough of him. She's going back to work.
By the way, how about that? Twin Towers. That's crazy.
It's also crazy here that
glove?
This is, yeah.
What?
I think it was just a thing that people recognize as what else? What else do kids have? Power gloves, probably. He would have a power glove.
He's hacking the power glove.
He's hacking with power glove.
That was like everything that could be cutting edge. They threw in the movie: beepers, rollerblades, power
3-inch
gloves.
floppy disks.
Hot.
I do think it is interesting that it's the Secret Service that is the big government bad. The big government heavy in this is the Secret Service. And it's not the FBI or anything like that, which is also interesting because the Secret Service is just like reacting to the whims of the IT guy at this giant corporation, essentially.
The Plague. Isn't his name the Plague? How can we talk a little about the hacker names? The hacker names are pretty good. Yeah, the hacker names are pretty good. We didn't have anything to do with it. But I love Serial Killer. The Plague.
Zero
Crash over
is
Is
awesome.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
How many people now have the call sign or the password Zero Cool? Most.
It's one of the 4 most common passwords now. It's what was it? God, sex, Zero Cool, and secret.
By the way, how about my hair? That's some serious plaiting. They call it plaits.
Yeah, it's a real choice.
Go ahead. See, he has his toothbrush because he knows he's not going to go home tonight. You see how it works, guys? There are no random choices. They're all based on some idiotic choice one idiot made. And there I am showing you my... the funny thing is, I thought I was fat in this movie.
What?
Yeah, I have this thing. Once you're a fat kid, I grew up fat, so you always think you're fat. I remember being in that movie going, I'm so fat. And now I'm looking back, going, God, it was
Did
such
you
a weird kid.
did you do the thing where you were fat and then you got tall and stretched out?
Yes, of course,
Yeah,
yes.
same here. That's yeah.
Yeah. And you constantly just think you are the fattest man in the room. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Oh, my.
So many
Hey.
doors getting opened with guns right on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I do like the tactic that they use where they just wait behind a door for somebody to open it and then start shouting.
The year was 1988. This nasty virus crashed 50.
Why
See, the
is
Secret Service is
why
working for the plague.
that's not good. Why is Secret Service working for the plague? This is the kind of way to make sure everyone's connected. That he's the little boy.
Computer couldn't even use a touch-tone phone.
And then
Yeah,
Nirvana was over by that point, right? Well, it was made
95?
in 80. Yeah, it was made in that makes no sense. It's
I gotta get that.
1988.
I got to get that Soundgarden poster though.
Where would you put it? You can't even get your Centipede game in the house.
I've got a tube over here of posters that I don't have room for, so I put it with those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someday-
Waiting for that day where I have like 4 rooms just for posters.
When do you think that day's ever coming?
It's not,
It's
but
never-
I got to hold on to something.
I have many of those posters in this very room. Guys, if anyone needs to beat me, you can always beat me.
We'll be at Grand Central waiting on you.
Beeper. You guys never had beepers, did you?
I like just missed beepers. I'm 38, so like I had a cell phone pretty early, but I just missed beepers.
You blew it. It was
Yep.
way better than early cell.
Mm-hmm. I do love the shorthand. No, go ahead. Talk about your
Go
bit.
ahead. I was about to tell the story again. Please
Okay.
say
Do
something.
it.
I was just going to talk about I love the shorthand of a big arch villain picking up a baseball bat for a scene. Like it's just great. Like I don't think that Dade plays baseball or really should have a baseball bat, but here we go.
You got hit. Yeah. By the way, if you put a gun in the script, it's got to be used.
Right. It's Chekhov's baseball bat.
By the way, Johnny is English. Does everyone know Johnny's English? Johnny Lee Miller's English. And every now and then you can hear it in his early accent. But it was funny. So we landed in London, and he took like me, Angie, and like maybe it was not Jesse because Jesse was with his dad. I don't know, maybe Renely or Lawrence. We all went out to dinner. He's like, let's go meet my flatmates. And it was Jude Law and Ewan McGregor. So we went over. We got dinner, and then we went over his flat and hung out with his friends, who are arguably, the most famous, successful actors now in British cinema. Oh,
Jude Law and Ewan McGregor.
yeah, they were at the flat. I think he lived with Jude.
And Ewan was just hanging.
And you, but it could have been all 3. I don't know. But by the way, at the time, I'm like, oh, that's cool. We live with a bunch of actors. No idea that they were going to be the biggest actors in the world. And also, it was before he came out in as Sick Boy. In what's it called again? Oh, guys, what's the movie?
You're talking about Train Spotting.
Trainspotting. Yeah.
This is a really accurate like apartment house party scene. Like it's appropriately crowded and not super well lit. Like
Yeah, I like movies.
You can see the ceiling. Like it's like a low ceiling. It makes.
And you've got people screaming, which when you're shooting a scene like this is super weird because it's dead quiet, and you're like screaming at the top of your lungs. You're acting all hype, and there's like not a sound to be heard, right? Because there's no music.
We have liftoff. 3 o'clock. Check it. Don't look right away. Look at her, man. Look at that. Lisa Blair.
This is a really interesting way to introduce the fact that he's got a photographic memory. Like because where did he see all the? Did he see your license, or like are they carding people?
Lou Reed, by the way. So the people that made that sweater, that's a Matt Lillard special. I improv that. That Lou Reed sweater was made, and the people that made it like sold it out. Like every time they ran it, they sold out.
Oh, that sweater that you're wearing in the scene?
Yeah, that sweater. Yeah, Lou Reed. Anyway, so Jesse's dad was with him the entire time he was on the movie.
Was he like the youngest one there?
Yeah. We were going out in London and like hanging out.
Yo, check this out, guys. This is insanely great. It's got a 20-inch.
This is a very funny sequence. So this is a moment where they're watching this. So they're watching this display, right? And so they do all this coverage.
I wanted to have my children, right? Yeah, I bet it looks crispy in the dark.
And we're like super sexy and quiet. Like we're like acting like, you know.
Just in awe of how crispy it looks in the dark.
Yeah, after they're throwing it on all our faces. So we're like checking out this thing. And then all of a sudden, these guys come in and start making out. So in the big wide shot, which is there, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
Was that her top? One-handed. Difficulty rating.
So they do all this. So they do our close-up, all this shot right here. She's not even in the room. And all of a sudden, she comes in the room on our close-up, and she literally takes her top off, and all the guys are like, "Oh my god!" So she did it to be. I think she did it to be cheeky, but she did like a flash, or she did what? I mean, I think she did
just for your coverage for that reaction.
Yeah, just to completely screw it up because we were doing our coverage was clean, her coverage was her clean, and then she went to the wide and she took her top off for a second, and our just so that we're clear, our coverage did not match the wide coverage. Right, the client like, oh my, she took off her top did not match what we actually did. We took off her top. I mean, so bad. So stupid. I think we should do a drinking game every time I, for no reason whatsoever, stick my tongue out. I remember my manager at the time was like, hey, you should stop sticking your tongue out. I'm like, why? And now every time I see a picture of me with my tongue out, I'm like, that's got to be 94 to 99.
It's a very specific range of time.
I'm not really sure why I thought it was really interesting. I mean, there's like so many like photo shoots and everything. It's like a ton of.
Did you guys on set while you were making this? Did you guys talk at all about or read any William Gibson, any of the Neuromancer kind of stuff? Did that factor in all of the precursor stuff to Cyberpunk?
So I read Neuromancer, but I'm not sure if I read it because of this or because I read it because I used to read books. You guys ever read?
Right.
Actually, I'm actually reading books right now. The only good thing about the pandemic is that I can't sit on my computer and get distracted. So I have to read, which has been nice. Yeah, I read it, but I don't know if it had anything to do with. I remember doing this movie. I was going through a huge Bukowski thing, Charles Bukowski. I think I had like 4 Charles Bukowskis in this. And the first day we landed in London, I ended up in like an English riot. Like they were rioting against something. Like there was a huge protest, and I was like jet lagged, and I didn't know anyone. I'd never been to London, and I ended up in the middle of this protest, and I got like stomped on by a horse. It was this horrible experience. I lost London, and there were no cell phones, and I was like, I don't know how to get back, and then it was and then I didn't have any money, so I couldn't get a cab. But I got stepped on by a horse. Very strange.
That's a lot.
Just wandering around London, having just been stepped on by a horse.
Yeah. But these two, I mean, great leads. Right? I mean, they're both talented. They're both super talented. They're beautiful to look at. And I don't know. They're just like, I think that's the other reason why this movie still works. You're like rooting for these two. And during the movie, you know, they fell in love. I mean, they were married early. And they were married young. So they were, I don't know. I look back at this and they were so sweet, you know? Look how young they are.
Yeah. The sexual innuendos that get tossed back and forth in this movie are, I mean, there's one in every scene, I feel like.
Yeah. It's pretty appropriate. Her lips look like she was attacked by a squadron of bees. Look at her lip.
A squadron, an organized squadron of bees.
Attack! So here's the deal. The chosen contest. By the way, what's happening in the movie right now? I mean, why are they competing when we're in the middle of Act 2? They should be rising up.
They're having a hacking contest for no reason.
Well, they're interfering with the Secret Service guy. They're going after Gil at this point, right? Like this is the
that's the
this
competition.
is them sort of.
Oh,
I love the quick drawing of the floppy disks.
So I think that there's a thing with this movie where it fluctuates from being like just like laughably corny to being genuinely cool, like just every other scene. Sometimes in the same scene, where like spray painting your laptop camo is like that's kind of badass. Like that's nerdy, but that's got some style to it. But then like, you know, doing Taxi Driver with floppy disks in front of the mirror is just like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and here we are in Chinatown, and the music starts.
The music starts, it's particularly with this music in conjunction with that sort of slow kind of, you know, arcing pan around all these people just kind of posed there, like. It's very Matrix. Like I think there's some weird, you know, this is a look and a vibe that became very popular in the late '90s. And also, waiters just like gleefully cutting up a credit card in front of people. Is that a thing that happens anymore? Because that was a trope for a long time.
Yeah, the largest pair of scissors you've ever seen in your life that he happens to have in his back pocket.
Well, you get the feel the way that he cuts the credit card. You get the feeling that like these are my credit card scissors, and these are my statement scissors, and I'm keeping them in my pocket just for this.
They use those scissors to cut the ribbon at the grand opening, and then they keep them on hand for people who don't have good credit.
Right. This is an incredible prank. Like, just.
I like that he keeps answering. Like, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just unplug your phone at some point, man.
He's so angry. He's so angry. So this sequence is amazing. So that's the Empire State Building. This is me on top of the Empire State Building. This is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire career. So that's them on like the high. That's like them on the high level, right?
Because that's where the best phone is.
Right, but you need that, right? Because you Because how else could you hack? And then I went higher. So that was down like the second to highest, and then I went to the highest plateau. And it was just me and the DP and Ian Tucker. And that sequence of me like over the side is me on the very top level of the Empire State Building.
That's cool.
So they did the big wide up here, and then the actual shot, because you couldn't get that because we needed to see the actual building. We went up one level higher and shot that scene, which, you know, look, in this career, like, you get to do weird things. Like, you're in the middle of a junkyard in the middle of winter shooting 13 Ghosts with F. Murray Abraham. And you're like, well, what am I doing here? How does this happen? You're in a cave in Australia shooting Scooby-Doo 1. You're like, there's just these crazy moments. That is unforgettable.
This is a fun contest where they literally kill a man.
Hey, who is good at doing these? Who's good at doing the this WFN, the WFH? WFH?
Who is?
Watch. Oh.
What do you mean?
What's WFH? What's WFH?
Watch from home theater.
Oh, okay, good. That's exactly what we're doing. WFH.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the three of us. Who was good at these? Who did you guys love doing them with?
Well, so far you got the second half of this movie to kind of ruin it, I suppose. But this has been a lot of fun. No, we've done a bunch of fun ones. We had Jonathan Frakes and everybody between him and Frakes is awesome. Chris Hemsworth was a lot of fun. We've done Extraction, a movie, his last Netflix movie.
I just watched it. That was not a good movie. I'm going to say it right now. It's so bad. I was so excited to see it. So I have a projector in our room, and I put on headphones, and I turned it up so loud. And it was one of those things, like, everyone went to bed, and I watched it by myself, and I was like, I can't wait for this to be incredible.
And it let you down. Well, there's bound to be a playlist around here somewhere where you can watch all of the. So thank you for that plug right in the middle of this. That worked out great.
He's charming though. He seems lovely.
He was.
I think that, just for the record, for everyone watching at home, there's like 9 people, I'm sure, at this point still watching. Everyone else is watching the Clipper game, which I should be watching right now. This has to go faster.
Do you have another screen there?
Speed it up. I would never cheat on it. But I double time it, Nikki. Let's go. Chop chop. All the parts without Matt Lillard. Just get through them.
Just fast forward some more Matt Lillard.
I'm not in this. But I will say this: for the most part, people in Hollywood, people who have found success, people who have been around for more than 4 movies, are probably good people for the most part. Just so everyone knows, like, you have to work. The job requires you to be on set with a bunch of people for a long time. And look, we are not still digging ditches, but you'll do 16, 17, 18-hour days. 6 days a week. Like, you'll do serious hours and time. You cannot be a dick. You're a jerk. You don't come back. So most of the time, people in film and television are good people. Yes, there are bad nuggets out there, and there are 3 people in this industry. Like, you ask me about them, not you. But if somebody in the world asks me, hey, what's this person like? I'll be like, yeah, it's not great. But most of the people in this industry are awesome.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And, like, when you, like, if I was in a rental right now, you, like, hug the kid because you're like, he's part of your family. Because you invest in all this time and energy, and you're with these people day in and day out, and then you may never see each other again. I have not seen Reynolds since the last Hackers thing we did.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a part of your life because you spent all these days and hours. You're like,
Yeah, it's such a relatively short and intense time to spend with people to then just never see them again unless you work with them again.
yeah. I was doing a movie called September, which is a really, really lovely, and it was during the Academy Awards cycle of whatever year that was. And I saw Angie there because she had just directed her film, and I like jumped up after she won this award, and I jumped up to run over to her to hug her. And I was like, you sort of don't miss a beat. You know, you like right back into friendship. It's a fraternity. It's a fraternity of people that. One of the great things about steering movies or television or whatever.
Who did you
That was
spend the
such a
most
fun-
time with on when you were making the movie? Because like I know the way movies are made, it's not always, you know, they don't shoot them sequentially, and people who are on screen together the most aren't necessarily shooting at the same time the most. But did you have like a best friend on Hackers?
I mean, not really. I mean, for a while, it was very funny. Angie and I were hanging out. And then Angie, it's funny, I haven't thought about this in a while. Angie and Johnny and I and my ex-girlfriend at the time, my girlfriend at the time, went on like a press tour of Europe together. And Angie and I hung out a lot during that time. I don't know. It was before Johnny and her had hooked up, and we would go out to dinner and sort of kick it. And you know, at some point in the back of your mind, you're like, "Is there a chance she likes me?" That would be incredible. I mean, I would break up with my girlfriend right now if she liked me. But I was like 24, so I was 24, 94, so I was 24 years old. And I think she was 18. I mean, I literally think she was that young. And at some point we got in a conversation about sex. And I don't know if you know her history about sex, but I was like, oh, we are never going out. Angelina Jolie is not interested in me even a little. But I like these moments where I'm in it with the movie stars. Every time you're in a scene with the movie stars, it's a good move. It's a good moment for the not movie star.
Even in the way that it's blocked, it's just like you kind of elbowing your way in there too.
I'm getting her light. I should not be in her light. That's a mistake.
Feels like something somebody should have told you were doing.
That is you literally upstaging Angelina Jolie right there.
Yeah, that's great.
But if you let's back it up. No, but it's in that light where she's got that little kiss off the upstage side of her face, and it's like a beautiful shot of her completely silhouetted. But see the light, you see the high contrast, you see the high contrast for push across. That's Andre. I mean, he told us a story while we were on the movie. He said that when he was shooting Pulp Fiction, it's not my movie, it's not my story to tell, but he was shooting Pulp Fiction, and what's his name had two. What's his name? Why am I so bad with names right now? Die Hard. Bruce Willis had two Ferraris pulled up, and he was looking at which one to buy. And he said, Andre, they were going to lunch, and these two Ferraris, like, you know, a red one and a white one or whatever. He's like, which one should I buy? And Andre walked over and honked the horn of one of them. He's like, this one. And sure enough, that's the one that he bought.
I like.
So Bruce Willis had multiple Ferraris brought to him on the set of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, to choose which one to buy.
Try and decide which one to buy. And he bought it based on...
I cannot go. I cannot be
16,
bothered
18-hour days. When can you go? Yeah.
Bring it here. Andre, which one? I can't decide. Hong Kong, this one. All right, I'll take that one. Ladies and gentlemen,
that's a real gearhead right there. He gets in, he honks the horn, you know?
Yeah.
I have never done that.
Yeah, I've never tried out the horn.
I've never bought a Ferrari.
I've also never bought a Ferrari. That's true. Well, here's we're getting a few more comments here from folks who are watching. Juan Ignacio Craveto is watching on IGN. This is a comment, just says, "Hi everyone." So hello. This movie was for me the inspiration and motivation to what I am today in life, which is a computer engineer. So thank you for everything, Matthew.
How many people are watching? 12, 13. How many people?
Let me see if I can get a number for you.
41. 17 people. Nick, give me a number.
I just asked Nick. Well, Juan is one of them. If it's just 17 people, Juan is watching, and he actually became a computer engineer because of this movie. So he says, "Thank you, Matthew. You're amazing," and hack the planet. So that's fun. And then there's another user watching on Cinefix, the Kids of Albany, which I guess that's kind of the hacker names these days. Is what is your handle, right? What is your YouTube handle or your Twitter handle or something? Maybe that's the modern equivalent. But the Kids of Albany says, Matthew, when they come to you for Hackers 2, are you in?
So there is. What can I say about this? I've been in talks with Ian Stockley about the idea of getting people back together. And then I connected them with the people that produce Scooby-Doo. And they've had conversations about doing something about that.
That's great.
Yeah, yes, please.
And I'm responsible, but I take full credit.
Do it.
No, look, there's a world in which now more than ever, there's a movie to be made about what's happening. Your game goes to a computer a million times a day is legit. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, and the information everybody consumes and the way that it shows up on all their devices is such a, it's, yeah. I mean, that's maybe another way we're looking at why Hackers, this movie from '95, is still relevant. Like, there's still a lot of that stuff that we're dealing with. Like, there's a lot to be mined.
Yeah, and I think that people, the idea that you now have an Apple store in every corner, it's so relevant. I don't know. And it has a name. I mean, look, Hollywood right now is looking for ways to capture viewers. Building a franchise of a movie that was made 25 years ago. You can sort of do it now more than ever.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the Kids of Albany.
What'd you say?
Which one?
Go ahead, Max.
I was going to say we get these weird late sequels. Like, we got a Train Spotting 2, and that's one of those things that doesn't seem like it should have happened, but yeah. I mean, I would say that hacking has come a lot further in 25 years than heroin has. So, there's probably more to say in a sequel.
That's true. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's true.
And just so you know, Matthew, we're at 1,300 people.
What?
That's just on one of the platforms too. So there's a couple more than that somewhere else, but yeah, around there, more than your guesses for sure.
What are they doing? They think I'm Johnny Lee Miller, not me.
We put Angelina Jolie in the thumbnail.
We got fastest typing now. Son of a bitch. He can type. I'm telling you. By the way, this is one of those sequences that takes like all day. goes by in
yeah.
like 2 minutes. Like one of those things where
But there are
Change
300
your life.
setups in this sequence.
It isn't a virus. It's a worm.
I do. This movie montage is great.
This is everything
Like there, it's
for $1 million deals to that.
it's a training sequence.
yeah.
No one's caught it because the money isn't really gone. It's just data being shifted around.
I don't know. I don't know how I ever got another movie. Look at my ear. It's so big and red.
That's a movie star's
I
ear, though.
did
That's
go-
like a.
I did go on to work after this movie, didn't I, Max? Is this my last movie?
This is no. So I was gonna ask you. You asked who the best on watch from home theater is, and like I appreciate how much you're willing to like roast your own movie and poke fun at yourself. Like if we had to make you watch one of your own movies aside from Hackers, which one would you pick?
To enjoy or to roast the crap out of?
Either way,
Both.
like if you had to pick one.
Well, look, I mean, universally stupid, man. I mean, everything he says is like Spicoli, but more acidy. It's a good question, Max. So look, here's the fun thing about me. I actually love my career. I love my job. I was born to do my job, and I've always wanted to be an actor, and I've spent my whole life loving acting and loving actors. So when I watch a movie that I'm in, no matter how bad it is or how good it is, perceived to be, I actually enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because I have fun doing them. So then when I watch, I look back and yes, I mean, I'm an idiot. I chew the screen. I do too much. It's like, it's all like so obvious and so dramatic and like so much. But it's a 24-year-old kid having the time of his life. And so it's fun. And they're all like, look, like I was saying before about a family and your memories. Like you love these moments in your life. I mean, you're looking at something 25 years ago. So if you're like, if you're selling cars and you're 25 years into your career or 30 years into your career, you don't ever get a chance to go back and look at the first cars you sold. Like it just has to live in your memory. This is a living memory for me. So when I go back and watch it, I'm like, it sparks all these memories. It sparks all this emotion. It sparks pride. It sparks, this sort of joyful touchstone. So it's good. So I'm happy to be here, even though I talk crap about me and it. And I love the movie. I always loved this movie. I always thought the movie was better than sort of it was given credit for. I actually think Ian Softly is an incredible director because of his scope and the breadth of his career. A little violence, a little gun violence. This is where you see my butt, I think. At some point in this movie, I think you see my butt.
It's at some point in this montage, there's some butt.
Everyone quiet! Text your friends! Tell them to tune in! Here comes my butt!
Page everybody.
Find it? Oh, phone's all right.
Oh, here you go.
Somewhere else.
Here it comes.
That's my tool belt. Sexy time.
There's the butt.
That's Matt Lillard's special. That is not in the script. Nobody needed it, but I thought I'd throw it in. Just like my nipple on my butt. Yeah, but so one of the worst movies I ever did was Dungeon Siege. In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale. Uwe Boll movie. It stars Jason Statham, Levi Sobieski, Jonathan Gimli, whatever his name is from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Rhys Davies.
Oh, John Rhys Davies. Yeah.
And Ray Liotta, which is hilarious. because he was a wizard in like leather pants, and that just never happens in the U.S. There he was, leather panted wizard. That movie was terrible. But what did I get to do? I get to get dressed up like a villain and go around and like sword fight people. Like it was crazy. Like Brian White and I sword fought for like a whole day, and it was like the best time ever. And when I wasn't acting, I was on a horse or I was learning to sword fight. Ron Perlman's in it. Crazy.
That sounds pretty fun, honestly. That sounds like a great time.
That's a blast. Yeah.
Yeah, and they paid you like I get paid when I work. I get paid. Like the problem is not working, but when you work, it's awesome. So
It's
I was
a
like,
job, yeah.
this is the greatest job in the world. And I was like, what if he had a thing with like softig prostitutes? Wouldn't that be fun? And they're like, yes. So like, it's that thing where you like come up with a bunch of crazy ideas, and they let you do it, and you just chew the scenery with Burt Reynolds as the king. The best. You guys, let's do that tomorrow.
When you say it like that, it sounds completely made up. But like I know that it's real.
Uwe Boll in the middle of the whole thing would like take off running, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I must train. I'm getting in fights with reviewers."
Oh, that's right.
He can train people.
He would fly up people who gave him bad reviews. Let's just be clear. Uwe Boll, who fought for the German national military, he was a boxer for the military, challenged anyone that wrote bad things about his movies to box him, and he was a professional boxer, and then he brought them up, and they were all smaller and shorter. By the way, that's not us. Those are real rollerbladers, not us.
Professional rollerbladers?
He would box them, and he was Uwe Boll.
Yeah. No, that's for sure one of the craziest things.
Didn't he try to box Michael Bay at one point?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. He's crazy. He's crazy. And he'd be like, I'd be like, he's like, and that's the end of the scene, and we're still rolling. I'm like, are you gonna call cut? He's like, cut. I was like, are we gonna move on? He's like, I don't know. Is it good? I'm like, yeah, I think it's pretty great. Move on. Your commitment to the crowd is unparalleled, Uwe.
We're gonna have to watch that one at some point too.
We are gonna have
maybe one night when the Clippers aren't playing.
Like, what's the score? Why have you done this to me? Stand by, everyone. Move.
If somebody can send a score update to Matthew's pager, he'd be doing us all a favor. Here's what we talked a little bit about all of the things that weren't in the script between your butt and your nipple and everything like that. But there's a question here from Trent Nix, who's watching on YouTube, IGN's YouTube channel. How much did you guys improvise in the script? He also says, love the movie, been one of my favorites since it opened, Hack the Planet. But the main question, how much did you guys get to improvise?
Look, I think anytime you're good at it, you get to do it a lot. It's a big club scene. Everyone looks so crazy and sexy. So, by the way, there's a funny story I'll tell you about this. Like, look, anytime you're good at it and you're throwing a wing dig, like, I have a series of very sort of successful ad-libs in a movie I did called Scream, and, like, those work. Because that's the way that director works. Wes Craven loves you doing it. In The Descendants with Alexander Payne, he's like, don't ever do that. Like, he was like, don't do that. I don't know what you're doing, but it just depends on time, place, director, tone, and what people want. The good thing about my characters, usually I'm between like 3 and 6 on the touch sheet. So the reality is that a character like me is designed to elevate characters who are like going to the movie, because that's what the movie needs. Like They have beautiful, they have drama, they have the love story. But what they need, by the way, see the beeper? He has an orange one. I have a yellow. So so it makes sense for somebody like me to throw in stuff, or like Nikon, or Renly, all of us. What was it? I was going to tell you a story. Oh
yeah, there's a funny story about this club.
So we go to a private club called the Groucho Club in London, and Ian Softly's assistant at the time's dad was the lead guitar player for Pink Floyd. And we all went to go see Pink Floyd at Wembley for like one of their last concerts of the era, I don't know, whatever it was. So we were all. I'm not telling the story. I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, so I guess the story can just be: I was at the Groucho Club with a cast of hackers and Pink Floyd, which was incredible.
Pink Floyd. That's frankly, that's enough of a story for me. That's
yeah. So I was next to Ian Softly, and I was talking to the hacker side, and he had just had a baby, and his baby's name was. Stand by. I'll wait for it.
Waiting for it. This is something I don't feel comfortable Googling.
No, don't. It's Fred. It's Fred. His daughter's name is Fred. And so in that moment with 30 people at the table, I stopped and wait, what'd you say? Do you say your daughter's name is effing Fred? Because I thought it was a joke. And at the exact same time I said that, both sides of the table went quiet. And Ian Softly's like, yeah, my daughter's name's Fred. I'm like, that is crazy. That's not her name. There's no way you named your daughter Fred. He's like, yeah, that's her. And so the more I dug in, the more he like dark face. I was like, that was.
And then you had to apologize to Pink Floyd.
Well, you're just like, first of all, people on the other side of the table were listening to me, and you never want to have Pink Floyd pay attention to you because that just feels stupid. And then on top of it, you don't want to. You're like, I'm not worthy to be in this conversation. Oh, there it is! You guys!
We got it. And the screen froze like that for all these years.
That's me.
Yeah, I just like those as words to live by. You never want to have Pink Floyd listen to you.
Because they were also like adults, and you're a child, and all of a sudden people are paying attention to you. By the way, you know it has a lot of potholes? New York streets. So yeah,
you know it doesn't agree with rollerblades? Yeah, let's get into the rollerblading here. This is a big rollerblading sequence.
This is big. This is the action sequence. So actiony. Yeah, so we're like on rollerblades, and we weren't very good. And here you are on the streets of New York. Oh, so dangerous. And you're going through this whole sequence. That's nice. I love the guys just randomly pointing, but that's us. Like, look how like awkward I look at 6'4", trying to look cool on rollerblades. So bad.
I do love this little joke here where he punches the car and the alarm goes off.
This
is a fun little button for that scene.
That's not us. See how sexy they look? Not us. Also not us. When they're doing it really fast, not us. This may be us. That is us. Oh my God, we could have died. These, ladies and gentlemen at home, these are called payphones.
The through line of the payphone in this movie is also a lot of fun. Like just the instructions for like how to like use a tape recorder to record the dial tone of a payphone. It's like I have no idea if that actually worked. I guess it did.
That was a thing. Yeah,
but
freaking.
That was a real thing. Yeah. But it's just so much fun to watch.
Look at all the individual computer screens that define their characters.
It's worth a camera move to see all that. And here we go. I love that practical tunnel that they built for it.
Question: do you think it holds up?
I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, dude, but I was literally just thinking how I think I like watching this movie more than The Matrix. Like, I think it's more fun. Because The Matrix, they're like, we're trying to destroy this thing that makes life enjoyable, livable for tons of people. In this case, they're like, we're trying to, like, you know, fight the man. We're trying to overthrow society, and we're rollerblading while we're at it. We've got, like, cool, colorful outfits, and, like, you know, the others, I don't know. This is, like, this... I think it, like, when it came out, it was sort of trying to, like, tap into a zeitgeist, but, like, in hindsight, this is a legit cyberpunk movie that's, like, it's got some corny moments, but it's, like, it feels really earnest, you know?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. Like, I think it's a fun watch because there is some, you know, there's some camp to it and there's some cheese to it, like you were saying, and it's fun to watch just kind of superficially like that. But then, like, also
right.
it's a good story that holds up, and there's a truth to it that is still, you know, relevant, you know, today. So it's for sure worth revisiting. I'm happy to have watched it again twice in 2 days.
You poor bastard. You deserve so much better. You're such a nice man, and then all of a sudden
I appreciate that. Stuck in a garage with a centipede, having to watch Hackers twice in 2 days.
It is very us versus them, kids versus adults.
Yeah. But in, like, a positive way, in a way that's, like, you know, winning that confrontation is possible, right? Like, it's a real positive movie. Whereas you look at, like, the other movies we were talking about, the Net and things like that, and, you know, technology is such a dangerous sort of murky future. Like, it's technology in the mid-90s was a real slippery slope to, like, bad stuff, except for hackers.
Right. Can I ask you a question? What does Johnny Lee Miller have over his eyeball? What
That's
is he
Tiger
wearing?
R-Zone. He's
He's a cyborg.
Yeah, right? A heads-up display. I don't know how that helps.
That can't possibly be functional. Maybe he's just got astigmatism in that eye, and that helps when he's really focusing. We get a comment here. Another comment from YouTube. Kevin W. Eaches says, over 30 years in IT, and I never learned to rollerblade. I have failed so horribly.
You come to Pasadena right now. You ass here. I will teach you right this second. There's no place for an IT who cannot rollerblade.
Kevin, if you're still watching, get yourself to Pasadena right now and learn how to rollerblade.
Truly, 2 things I want to talk about. Again, you can donate to 5 Acres for kids who are in need. And right now, if you're attached to a charity of any kind, everyone's suffering. I know that the world has no money, that the world feels like it's collapsing around you. The first ones to suffer are the people that need it most. So 5 Acres, those kids need help, and or whatever charity that you're personally connected to. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is that I have this company called Beetle and Grimm's. You know, I have a Dungeons and Dragons company. So I have a Dungeons and Dragons company called Beetles and Grimm's. And I know that on IGN, we have great traction with you guys. So I just wanted to, in this moment, shout it out. This is a shirt that if you buy this shirt at beetleandgrims.com, we sell Dungeons and Dragons boxed editions. I don't know if you're into D&D. You may be into Hackers and also in D&D. I think there's a big crossover. But this is our Pride shirt that goes out to support kids and in the LGBTQ community. We also have a Shield of Faith, which supports mental health in the gaming community. All proceeds for the shirt and for the Shield of Faith go to supporting fantastic organizations.
That's great.
Not to get distracted from the movie, Johnny Miller's, but you know, if we raise
on top of all that great stuff, it is just a rad shirt.
Yeah, it's good, right? It's our dyno and the Pride dyno. It's good.
And it's compatible with pagers, right? You can put a pager on it and it still works as a shirt. Is that correct?
I should be highlighting. This is our pager shirt.
Also available in pager neck.
Also available with the pager hat.
Pager hat. Oh my God! You can put that pager anywhere.
Yeah. It's a tourniquet. It's real big.
I love, and this is to get back to the soundtrack of this movie again. The score here, this like great, it's almost like a buddy cop, like Lethal Weapon kind of electric guitar, bluesy feel. But this confrontation here between everybody in the Gibson, the Plague and the Gibson, and everybody at the payphones is just so fun to watch. Like zooming in and around all those plexiglass towers and.
Garbage. Period.
So exciting. I hope they get away.
So Matthew, just so you know, I'm just hearing from people that we just crossed $1,000 raised for 5 acres.
Hey! That's awesome.
And there we
Thank
go.
You, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. That's awesome.
Kill the Gibson.
Roger that.
And here they come.
Come on, you son of a bitch.
Save the day.
All you got, huh?
Fisher Stevens here.
Let's see what else you can do.
What other movie? By the way, Dwayne Bracco. What was she famous for? She's famous for that gangster movie, Scorsese movie, right?
Well, she was. It was Sopranos, right? Was the big thing, right?
Is it? No, I think she didn't. She do Casino
Or Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Yeah, she's on The Sopranos and she's in Goodfellas. We're both right.
I didn't watch Sopranos. You didn't watch it? What movie? Okay, so I'm a father of a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 12-year-old who's very advanced in his film career. What is the movie I should go show them? Hi, Liam. Come in. You want to say hi to the entire World Wide Web? Come here. 1 million people are watching. Come here, son. Don't embarrass me, boy. See, what movie? Wait, don't say anything. What movie is this right here that we're watching? I'm covering the screen. What movie is it?
Hackers.
That's it. What's he say? Watch. Listen.
Nailed it.
Boy, listen. Listen.
Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
No!
Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
Hack the planet!
Yes.
Come on, boy. Give it to him. Hack the planet. Million people are watching. Said, hack the planet. You're leaving me high and dry, boy.
Because you're doing
Give
this
me-
to
yes.
me.
Love me. I love you.
Oh,
We do.
Aw.
That was great.
He does it. What are you doing? No, you can't act like you're not there. I know you're there. You're distracting me.
Just because the rest of us can't see you.
So I just looked it up.
What-
The Hackers soundtrack is coming out on vinyl and on CD in 10 days for Record Store Day. I'm a vinyl collector. I'm totally getting this because I need to listen to Voodoo People 3 different times on one album.
Absolutely.
Hack the planet.
Also, like,
Yeah,
There we
you
go.
like hear me? Boy,
We got
do it
one on
again
the way out of the
louder.
room.
So what movie do you show that kid? What's important for him to see?
Oh man.
You're a father. What are you going to show your 5-year-old?
I know. I got a 5-year-old and I got a almost 2-year-old, which at the moment it's just all Disney stuff on repeat. And I'm trying. It's a real because we've started getting into to RPG. Like we play like a real diet version of Dungeons and Dragons with my 5-year-old, and so I've started thinking like, is she ready for Lord of the Rings? And the answer is definitely no. But I'm not sure. Last week on this show we watched Spirited Away, which I think is a good one for teens if they haven't watched any Miyazaki.
They've seen them all.
They've seen them all. Great. Then you did it. Your job is done.
Do I see my 15-year-old? This is my 15-year-old. She doesn't love me nearly as much as the 12-year-old because she's 15. Say hi. There's a million people watching. Say hi. Put your face in the thing.
Hi, I like Spirited Away. That's cool.
Oh, great.
There you go. Very punk rock. Look out. All right. Wait, bitch. Oh, there's no F-bombs?
Did you say one? I missed it.
She did. 15-year-olds.
Can't bring him anywhere, even on a live
No,
stream.
not. That's me.
Sucker belongs to Margot Hawks, head of public relations for Ellingson Mineral, and Eugene Belford, computer security officer.
Son of a bitch!
Is this the unnamed account?
What I love about this scene is there's a couple of things like that the Secret Service unquestionably accepts this. They're like, okay, you guys are free to go. Sorry about that. Because everybody's high-fiving here in like 2 seconds. And then also the way that Fisher Stevens just disappears. Like he teleports out of this room. He's just gone. And like out of the entire house. He just slowly rolls out of the know where his mother is.
You guys are
we're
coming
sneaking
to
up.
the end.
Yeah,
Is
we're
it
sneaking
weird
up
if
on
I
the end
cry?
of this movie. A little bit, but go ahead. Here's a question that I think is good to sort of because we talked a lot about obviously, right? And Fisher Stevens, an old man, wig and beard here. Just such a good escape plan. It's like I'm gonna put on old man makeup and just fly away.
He looks like a bad guy from Tintin. Also, like, why would you handcuff yourself to him in the middle of the flight? Like, why wouldn't you wait until he's getting off the plane and just nab him then? Like, that's such a weird. You gotta sit next to him.
Like, get him before he gets open. By the way, I love the fact that in '94 they go in this very Pan-American vibe costume. I mean, that's.
They just
right?
go
I mean,
full
this is
Blade
so.
Runner there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's maybe the most cyberpunk looking outfits for both of them in the entire movie. It's like they've graduated to. I guess this is their elite mode, maybe.
Yeah. But
we talked a lot about things, how it holds up from the '90s. And here's a question that I think is a good one as we sort of wrap this movie up here. But Alexander Adrock, who's watching on Cinefix, asks, "What do you miss most about the '90s? And what do you miss the least?"
Oh my gosh, about the '90s.
'90s.
Yeah, you know what I miss? I mean, I miss this idea of every movie trying to be incredible, like at a movie career, right? And at the time in the '90s, there's a real difference between being in movies and being in television, and the two didn't mix. And I was super proud of the fact that I was a movie actor. And I love the fact that I was trying to win Academy Awards, right? I mean, even in this movie, I was trying to be the best actor the world will ever see. And, you know, I still try that. I mean, I still strive for excellence and try to be an incredible actor. But there is this real, I don't know, there's an innocence about being the best around that I was really trying to be. And now I don't care nearly as much as I used to about being identified as the best actor in the world. Because it's ridiculous. But, you know, at the time I was trying to be every line was trying to be the most incredible line to ever come out of my mouth. And I miss that. I mean, I miss that sort of naive need for greatness. So I miss that. And then I don't miss being, you know, a 25-year-old kid, a 24-year-old kid. I'm a 50-year-old man. I have great kids. I have an incredible wife. I have a career that Jesse Bradford got higher billing than me? What? What?
Oh, man. And he's done. He's off to the Clippers game.
I mean, look, and I'm 50, and I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning of my career, and the fact that I'm still doing it at this age is like, I'm proud of it. I'm so proud of it. It's hard. I mean, that's the thing that people don't know when they're watching shows like this is that, it's hard. It's hard to maintain relevance in an industry that is so interested in what's next. And to be 50 years old and still have an opportunity to work. I'm on a show right now called Good Girls. And be able to, I spent all day today in a theater working on a piece with a poet that I'm directing. And to be an artist at this point in my life, I'm humbled by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well,
that was awesome, man. That was.
I think it holds
huge.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hackers, we did it. Guys, we did it.
We did it. We hacked the planet once again, 25 years later. Did it hold up for you? Did your experience now watching it versus what 5 years ago is when you said it? Was the last time?
Yeah, not even a little. I mean, I think you guys ruined it because you talked the whole time.
Sure. That's the biggest note we get about this show is could you not talk over the movie, please?
Hello. No, look, I said it before and I'll say it again. Every time you see a movie from your past, it reminds you of, it's a video, it's a filmed representation of a time of your life that you have a million memories that are inappropriate to share on a stream with a bunch of people. But, if you're ever out in LA or if I ever see you in a restaurant, let's grab a drink and I'll tell you some fun stories, and that's the thing about the movie is that, it encapsulates. This movie encapsulates a piece of my youth, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'll stand by Ian Softly and where it was and what it represented in the world when it came out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna find my way up to Pasadena to.
Hacking consultant Emmanuel Goldstein. You see that?
Oh. You got a credit to. Cool.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Either way, I'm going to make my way up to Pasadena, get a rollerblading lesson, and hear some of those stories at some point. But thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun watching that with you. And again, 5acres.org, right? And thank you to everybody that donated tonight. That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So thank you for being here, man, and thank you for watching Watch From Home Theater. Stick around on IGN at 8 p.m. IGN's Mark Medina will be diving into a new mid-season Fall Guys update, which includes a new giant hammer called Big Yeetus. I don't get it, but Mark says it's a big deal. So if you want to check that out, it's over on IGN's Twitch. That's starting at 8. Otherwise, thanks again for being here, everybody. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Hack the planet!
Hack the planet! You guys, that was awesome.